Hello there, everybody, all my fabulous people. I'm Cadence. I've had a lot of questions about how I run my pedal board for shows. Specifically, how I'm able to kind of use my looper pedal and the drum tracks behind it. How do I incorporate my overdrive pedal for like solos and kind of stuff? So this is basically going to be a brief run through of my guitar pedal and how I kind of use it during said shows. Now, one thing I do want to get like clear straight out of the way. This is not going to be a video specific to the Boss RC5, which is the looper pedal that I have. This is going to be more so a overview guide of the setup of it, the controls of it, how I'm able to kind of like create and like generate like certain loops on the fly. I swear in the future I'll have a much more in-depth video on my actual looper itself. But again, this is a brief overview of how I control the different pedals, what each of the like switches kind of do, and kind of like explain like my thought process to when I'm like doing shows. Before we get started, I just want to give a bit of a brief background about myself. If you're new around here, hello, my name's Kadence. I have a bunch of music released and a couple other videos if you want to go check that out as well. I've been playing publicly guitar and singing for about the past year and a half now. Basically, over the past year or so, I've started to kind of book my own gigs. I've released my own music. I'm by no means an expert. I've only literally just started to learn how to do scales like a month ago. A lot of the stuff I cover a bit of a range of like rock and like almost like sometimes like some hip hop stuff as well. And because of that, a lot of the music that I like to like play in public sounds a lot better with a drum track behind it. And so that's why when I started to have a Boss RC5 pedal and realized that it came with drum tracks, that's why I started incorporating it for my own shows and performances. So it was about a year after I started playing guitar that I finally got a looper pedal, and I've been able to do all sorts of crazy fun stuff with this. Yes, I got the Boss RC5 loop station. That was the very first thing I got. I got that about 6 months ago, and I started toying around with that and had a bunch of fun with it. Initially, I didn't use the drum tracks with it. I only just started doing straight up just loops, like overdubs on it. But over time, I've slowly started to incorporate drum tracks and even backing tracks as well, which I think is a very underutilized thing for most musicians. I think a lot of people, they look at the looper pedal and they only, they hear it for the looping function. But I think backing tracks is a great way to turn one musician into sounding like a full band completely on their own. But again, that will be in my video that will hopefully come out sometime in the future. So I got my looper pedal, and I realized that there was a lot of things I can do with it, but my control with it was still very limited. Specifically, I only have the one pedal here to start the recording and then press it again to stop it, and then do double taps to actually like do a hard stop hold. Like, there's only certain things I can only do with the one pedal. So I eventually got myself this Boss dual foot switch FS6. I think the FS7 variant is more like a vertical thing. It's a lot slimmer. It's like an up and down thing. I do genuinely believe that I think the FS6 design is better than the FS7 because, again, the FS7 is like a vertical switch that has like the buttons on the top and the bottom. Meanwhile, this FS6 right here is a clear distinction of left and right, or 1 and 2 in most cases. A lot of times when I'm like getting ready to like go to a show or something, they see this makeshift pedal board thing that I got going on, and they think that these pedals like do something specific like overdrive or distortion. No, it's all that they do is provide 2 extra controls for my looper. And then finally, at the very far end over here, I have my Boss OS2, the overdrive / distortion pedal. And that is where I can do my fun little solos. So I can kind of make a lot of weird types of distinctions and sounds out of it just through my acoustic guitar. I know, to my knowledge, the Boss OS2 has had a bit of a weird history. I've heard a lot of people hate on it, and I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it. Me personally, I am kind of biased because this is my first and only guitar pedal. I personally enjoy it a lot. I think it gets the job done, and for me, it is what it is. If it gets the job done, then I'm happy with it. I don't think I really need to kind of like spend a whole bunch or like get the crazy massive guitar pedal board to make a decent sound. I think as long as I can get something that I know is reliable for me and that it works for me and the kind of tone that I can present, that's good. And I think that's very important too when you're kind of building a pedal board. And then finally, after when I finally got both the pedals and the dual foot switch, I had a buddy of mine help me saw apart a old bookshelf. And so that's what this like board is. It's a part of a bookshelf that we sawed apart. And then I sticky donned some of those like rubber stops that you put underneath like furniture to like prevent it from sliding. I put that underneath it so it doesn't slide on stage. And then I put a ring of like electrical tape all around it to cover up the exposed ends. And there you have it. This is my very simple compact pedal board. It's literally just about, I want to say like 12, 14 inches long. I mean, this is my foot, by the way. So you can see it's very, very small, very compact. It's all I ever really needed. And obviously with the compact size, what I eventually did is you can see towards the top, I kind of like wrapped around and coiled in the different cables so it all fits nice and snug. Obviously I have a 9 volt daisy chain connection that's able to kind of power everything. And what I also did, so the Boss FF6, well, it's supposed to have a 9 volt battery in it. And I knew that if I had it on the pedal board, I didn't want to deal with having to like switch out the 9 volts and change it back in. So instead what I did is I had a 9 volts like adapter, and I was able to plug that into the daisy chain so that it just gives it solid power once it's all plugged in. So all this is powered through one daisy chain connection, and then obviously it all kind of connects in with each other. And so that's where I have on my left side at output A of the Boss RC5. That is where, if I'm going onto a stage or something, this is where I plug into my speakers. And then all the way on the right-hand side for the inputs, this is where I have my little Bluetooth wireless connection, goes straight to my guitar. And able to kind of produce sounds just like that, nice and easily. And I can kind of walk around a little bit, which is very, very nice. I like to walk around and dance a little bit and do a bunch of goofy stuff. So, that being said, we kind of went over the brief run-through of my actual pedal board. Now let's talk about some of the controls and some of the other little things that I have kind of custom-made for myself to make my life a whole lot easier. So, a lot of people often ask, what are these 2 sheets of paper that I have kind of taped onto here? Well, I kind of call them little cheat sheets to kind of help my way like around through controlling things. So on this side, I have a little charts for what each of the controls actually ends up actually does when I want to do certain things. So at the top row, I have when I'm controlling loops, I have each of them set to those different loop settings. And when I'm playing a show of all originals, I have all the different controls set to those settings. So what actually are those settings? So what controls do I actually have? Well, over here on the actual pedal itself is where I'm actually able to click it to start the record process. And then when I click it again, it will stop recording and then continue to kind of play that loop. Now you can see as I go ahead and start the loop, it's going to start recording, and obviously I'm not playing anything now. And then when I press it again, you can see that the loop will continue to start going back over and over and over again. And then I can just double tap really quickly to clear it out. Now, obviously during shows, I don't want to have to double tap all the time because that's a bit unreliable. So that is what I have track A for. So you can see I have an actual loop going on now through the actual loop station. I have the leftmost button on the dual foot switch. That is a all start and all stop. So I can literally just start and stop it anytime. It won't do any recording. It won't do any overdubbing. It's a nice, easy way for me to just start and stop a song exactly when I want it to, instead of having to like reliably like double tap on this all the time. Speaking of which, you almost saw as I started to do a double tap, the screen on this actually ended up turning yellow. And that is the overdub mode that does. So let's say I have a loop running right now. As you can see, the screen turns green and the loop is running. Well, if I want to go ahead and run another loop on top of that, I can just press it again and the screen then turns yellow. And then this will record an extra loop on top of it as it's kind of doing right now. And then once I press it again, it goes back to green and so it goes back to playing both. Now, if I want to take off said loop that I just recorded, I can actually hold it down while it's playing, and then it'll turn back to green, and then it'll revert the last loop that I did. But if I also want to undo that recording or undo that deletion, I can hold it down again while it's playing, and it will go back to the original 2 loops I had set up. I know that kind of sounds like a lot. I promise you I'm going to do another demonstration again towards the very end to kind of show how I kind of work through all of this. So let's do our all start, all stop. So it stops just like that. And by the way, if I do have loops in here that I do want to completely clear out, as once a loop completely stops, I can hold down on it, and the screen will go back to its normal, almost darker blue color. And then that's how I know that all the loops are completely cleared out. And then finally, all the way to the rightmost side, I have my rhythm tracks. So this is obviously rhythm kind of stuff. It's not so much important when I'm doing originals or even like kind of overdub loops where I'm just doing like purely acoustic stuff. But for a lot of the saved loops and tracks that I have a predetermined BPM, I have a predetermined drum kit sound or some other like weird effects. This is where I can start and stop just the drum tracks alone. It's not going to start and stop any of the other loops. So now you also might be thinking to yourself, what if I have a loop going and I go ahead and press this button instead of the all-star? Well, let's go and try it out. So this is recording something. And then now it's as if it's just running a loop just like this. You still hear the drum track kind of going on in the background. And then if I start this, or if I stop this, the loop will still continue to play over it while the drum track is not there anymore. And then if I want the drums to come back in, I can just have them come in just like any time. Go right through and all stop. And so that is what all the controls that I have set up for the looper actually do. And so obviously I have my overdrive pedal all the way to the very far right where I can get to do all sorts of crazy solos and that kind of stuff. So I have my normal guitar sound just like this. Very casual and such. And then obviously I can stop that, turn my overdrive pedal. And I can do all sorts of fun solo stuff. Very nice, very simple. One thing that I almost forgot is this piece of paper down here to the bottom right is actually a cheat sheet of all the different toggles and settings for my overdrive pedal. All the different numbers are different clock positions all the way for the 4 knobs that are at the very top. And again, I'll get into a video later on down the road about how I feel about the Boss OS2. If you do like my stuff so far and you are actually excited and looking forward to seeing me talk about my Boss RC5 pedal, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to let me know that I'm actually doing somewhat of a good job trying to explain this chaos and this madness. Okay, now that I was able to cover what my entire pedal board actually does, I'm going to go through and basically kind of demonstrate how I am able to control such things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the song that I played at the very beginning of this video, which was Vertigo by U2. Again, I'm not going to go through the specifics of how I was able to set the rhythm and the BPM and yada yada for each like different drum track. I'm only going to show you how I'm able to control it so that if you have a looper pedal at home, you can kind of follow along and try to do your own thing as well. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and start up the drum track. All I did again was press the very right one that we're here. And then we're going to add in a little bit of scrapes. I'm going to have some overdrive with it, and I want it to record. Stopped it on the actual record button just like that. And now it's running the loops. You can see it's just noted by the green. Turn the overdrive off. Do some rhythm. I'm gonna record it. You see it turns yellow and then it'll instantly start running that loop just like that. Theoretically, I don't actually have to play a guitar on this point, or if I'm just doing rhythm. I can just do more solo stuff on top of it. Overdrive pedal is on. Now, I reached the chorus, right? So it's different chords. Then the loop is actually playing, and I want to go ahead and take that loop off. Hold down it. The previous loop gets taken off, and I'm able to just play the chorus without any problems whatsoever. Go back, bring it back. Again, I want to reiterate, if I want to take off that previous loop that is the rhythm part, hold down on it, it takes that loop off, and then if I want to bring it back again, hold, bring it back in. And I can even still record more stuff on top of it. Let's say I want to record that solo and bring it back in. And then the song eventually does reach the bridge portion, which means I can do a all stop, all starts just by pressing the leftmost button. All this can be yours. All this can be yours. All this can be yours. Just give me what I want, and no one gets hurt. And then jump back in. Take out the solo. Get ready to press the stop button. And there you have it. That is basically how I'm able to control my loops with my pedal board. And there you have it. That is basically my run through of my pedal board and how I'm able to kind of control all sorts of loops, drum tracks, backing tracks, and all sorts of kind of weird stuff. Again, I will be making more videos in the future about each of these specific pedals, so I can probably go into much more detail to how I'm able to kind of like fine tune them into getting the exact kind of like tone and rhythm that I actually want. Also, feel free to go follow me on Twitch. I am starting to do live streams at least every Saturday in the morning where I start to do a bit, basically gonna go through music practice where I start to learn new songs. And I do use my looper pedal. You can feel free to come by and ask me any kind of question you want about how I'm able to kind of do certain things with it. Again, if you really kind of enjoy this kind of stuff, I guess this is the part where I'm supposed to say, again, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below about any questions that you have. I'm basically an open book. I love being able to just kind of talk about endless random music stuff for hours on end. So yeah, feel free to leave a comment below for any questions that you may have. That is all I have for the time being. Once said, my name is Kadence. Take care and bye.